Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Izzy. If you do not know or haven't been on Pat's YouTube channel too long and haven't seen my videos, I am one of the agents on Pat's team, and he and his wife are on a much needed vacation. And so I get to be here and do the weekly live this week. I've only done one of these once before, so hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see me. I think I did everything right. And then just to know, throughout this video, I am live for the next, we'll see, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, hour, I'm not sure. So if you have any questions, ask me real time and I can see your comments here. But if you're watching a rerun, just comment and then we'll get back to your questions when we can. So I'm going to start with just kind of going over a recap of the city council meeting. Yeah, I'm smiling because when we get to the petition part, I'll talk about it when we get there. But first, I just want to talk about they had a wildfire readiness update. And I wanted to bring this up just because we have so many clients moving from out of state and just people who watch this that don't live here. And wildfires can be a scary thing. And we're starting to get more and more questions about it, especially after we had the fire last year. And so just kind of they shared during the council meeting what the Fort Collins Volunteer Response Team, as well as Poudre Fire Authority, is doing to just be prepared for fires as they may come. And so Fort Collins is actively reducing the wildfire risk. They use city departments and regional partners to assist with this, to safeguard people, property, and then as well as the ecosystem. We are a medium wildfire hazard. They called kind of where we are, the wildland urban interface, is because of everything that's on the west side of Fort Collins. So Horsetooth area, having the homes in that area, and being so close, basically touching Fort Collins. But then also within the urban town, we have our open spaces as well. So that puts us at a medium wildfire hazard. And I'm just going to kind of share some things that Fort Collins is doing. And it may just ease some nerves that anyone may have with wildfires if they're considering moving here. I wouldn't say it's something I think about too often. I've lived here for 9 years now. And I think there's been 2 that have been closer to Fort Collins since living here. The Alexander Mountain Fire, and then the I'm blanking on the one in 2020. The one in 2020 was wild though, because it was also COVID and the sky turned orange, like orange. And there was all the, all the ash falls on your car. It literally felt like the world was ending. That one will come back to me what that one was called. But anyway, so just some things that are done. So Poudre Fire does something called HIZA. It's the Home Ignition Zone Assessment. So homes that are in more of those areas around the Horsetooth, the foothills and things like that, they'll do an assessment of the homes. They do outreach. They do education. They'll provide material and then a home inspection to help mitigate risk for that homeowner. And PFA sends out many crews to fires that are happening regional, like around the country. And also there's a crew helping the Texas floods as well. And so what's cool is they come back with knowledge and experience that they wouldn't have had. And so that just builds to when they're serving the Fort Collins community. So city acreage. So that's the open spaces you see driving all around town, which is what most people's, one of their favorite parts about the Fort Collins, layout is that the city was planned so intentionally. I tell people all the time, like, you're gonna get your way around here so easily because of the grid system. Like, the streets are pretty easy to figure out, and with that, the natural areas just being woven throughout the whole city, which is one of my favorite parts. So that's mainly an open fuel type. It's grass and shrubs. They are not managing for extreme situations like the Marshall Fire. That fire, they were saying, could burn through golf courses, cross multi-lane highways. And so if they were to protect the city from that, they'd have to pave all the pour concrete over every natural area in town. So they're not doing that. But they do some mowing. They do aggressive invasive weed removal, and then encourage the natural plants to grow, which stay greener for longer. So it helps mitigate risk. And then they discuss the role of climate change with the increased fire risk, as well as collaborative efforts that they have with the Fort Collins response team and PFA. So those are just kind of some things that the city does to help with wildfire risk. We haven't had any close to town this year so far, which is great. The next thing that they talked about for I would say the bulk of the council meeting on Monday was a citizen-initiated petition relating to the Hughes Stadium. And so for those of you guys who don't know what that is, Hughes Stadium. Someone just commented hello. That means you can hear me and you can see me, so that's great. Hello. The Hughes Stadium used to be CSU, like where CSU had their football stadium. And I think it was only around my freshman year, which was 2016. So it was cool because you like would drive out to it and it was like it was like the movies, you know, like you like pregame in the parking lot and it's like all dirt. Everyone's like tailgating, all of that. You can't tailgate at the new stadium very effectively. So definitely the old stadium was really cool. It's set right up against I think they should build a water park. That would be awesome, actually. That's what we're just starting to talk about. So that's awesome. And kind of what they're thinking about doing. So yeah, so it used to be the stadium set right against the foothills, Horsetooth. And now, right now, I believe it's just open space and they have like a disc golf, like you can go and use it. And so in 2021, that was voted where for the city to buy it from Colorado State University. But there in April, there was a petition started, a notice of intent and petition was started to modify or clarify what that said. So 7,000 signatures were collected, and they went over kind of how when something like this happens, so a citizen initiative in the city and people are signing, how they're verifying those signatures. I didn't realize, like, I'm not a big political person. I did not know how much time and effort went into verifying signatures. It's kind of amazing. So they check them 3 times, but they are checking every voter. So they said that they touch every signature and they had 7,000. I think it was like 7,003 or something. But they touch every signature. They make sure that every person is registered to vote in Larimer County, Fort Collins, that they're of age, that they didn't vote more than once. If their address wasn't put down correctly, then they were crossed off. So like for those of you in the future, if you go and vote and you just put you live in Timnath or you live in wherever and you don't have the address, they're not gonna count your vote. So they truly make sure that you are the correct person with where you live. I'm not sure if they check your phone number too, but she went into just like the incredible meticulous way that they check every signature. And so they needed to have 5,070 to move forward on making the changes. They checked 7,500 signatures. They checked 7,500 signatures, 6,300 were valid. So that's the importance of getting more signatures than needed because about 1,000 were discarded. And so kind of the whole point of this citizen initiated petition is to make a clarification to the original language. And so there was kind of 3 changes or objections. I mean, to me, it seems so like little, but I know it's important. And I know the whole point of it is to make sure that it stays the way that the citizens had intended moving forward. And so part of this is it will be returning to our ballot in November of 2025. And so there may be an additional option because right now, what we're going to see is making it basically a city natural area. And so it being something that's maintained by the city and becoming a natural area, all of it, a 165-acre parcel. But then there may be a second option on the ballot that says, it could be like, something that has like a bike park and a community center and an education center, a water park, who knows? And so basically council decided instead of making the proposed modifications to the wording to just send it to the ballot and let people decide again, because they want to make sure that people are voting for that area and how it's going to be used and understanding the difference between an open space and a natural area, because there is a difference. To my understanding, with a natural area, there's going to be paths you can walk through, but you can't walk on anything else because the whole point is to keep it natural and to allow, the species to thrive and the plants and all the things. An open space, I believe you can, like how we have right now, the disc golf and, could have a bike center. Like there is a difference. And so they want to make sure people understand that. So the 3 changes that they wanted to make was they didn't like the use of the word modifying because they don't want to modify what was done in 2021. They want to clarify. That was, the council didn't agree on making that change, even though it's going to the ballot anyway, but I'm just letting you know kind of the conversation that was happening. They also wanted to change the order of the words acquire and rezone because that's not the chronological order of what would have to happen, except council did explain it sounds like rezoning wouldn't necessarily have to happen. And then the wording of 100% as a natural area, they wanted to use the word designate. Very like meticulous. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard for me to keep up because it seemed very like, but people care, and it's very important because we want to make sure, like, for example, like the difference between using entire or 100% seems the same to me, but they wanted to just make sure that people understood what they were voting for. So we want it to be natural area, multi-use area. And so that will most likely be hitting our ballot in November. Council voted, it was unanimous for it to just go back to the people to make sure that what they originally voted for is what they still want to happen. So that was kind of the big things that happened on the ballot. I don't know, personally, I think a multi-use area would be awesome. We have the drive-in up there, so having it just be something else that could be used. I mean, being able to have the disc golf. I'm not a big biker, but everyone who lives here is, so that would be cool. Education center, something to take your kids to where they can maybe, like, I don't know, learn the species or the grasses in the area. I think all of that would be really great. So, but one thing I do know about Fort Collins is they are so intentional. The citizens are intentional. The council and the planning community is so intentional that whatever does happen, I'm sure it's going to be great. So some other things that happened in the last week. Colorado has deployed speeding cameras in work zones. The warning begins July 21st. We just had someone comment, bikers have the entire city though. True. And they have Horsetooth. I think a water park would honestly be awesome because the closest one, like a true water park, is Denver. So I think it would be awesome if we had something here. If any of you guys have any other thoughts of what should be in that area, or just like ideas, you should comment, because I'd love to just hear what you guys are thinking. So speeding cameras, this is on Highway 119. So this is heading towards, this is like between, I think, Longmont and Boulder. And so this honestly is wild to me, just because of the kind of driver that I am. Essentially, they'll be issuing warning notices for drivers going more than 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. Who doesn't do that? Like, that's crazy to me. Citations with a $75 fine will follow after that, with a 30-day advance warning. It will not affect your insurance, but $75 every time, so 10 miles an hour over, which is crazy. So I have started to chill on my driving and getting better at it as I'm aging. I turned 27 on Monday. So, but yeah, so warning to that for you guys who do drive the, Colorado, go between Longmont and Boulder on Highway 119. The warning period begins July 21st, which is today. It begins today. Fort Collins is named the top cat-loving city in the U.S., which surprised me a little bit because it's such a dog-friendly place around here. But honestly, when I think about a lot of the clients that I have helped to move here, a lot of them some of them don't like dogs or don't have dogs, and they're actually big cat people. So it would make sense that as time has gone on, we've had more cat people, here. I don't know about in Fort Collins, but I know in Loveland, there's a cat cafe where you can like pay a membership and it goes towards taking care of the cats. And then you can like hang out in there, drink coffee, hang out with cats. I love cats, dogs, all the animals. So we are ranked number 8 most loving cat city in the US by PetSmart, which is crazy. And 75 for a stoplight speed camera violation, 40 for the speeding, or did they change it? So this is specifically for, sorry, let me just rephrase if I didn't emphasize this. This is in work zones. So this is on the 11-mile stretch on Colorado Highway 119 between J and Lookout Roads. And that's where they'll be giving notices for going 10 miles an hour over. So it's work zones. So yes, if that answers that question. So that's specifically for that area. Yeah. And thank you, Robert. That's awesome. I'd love to see you guys again. Okay. So the top cat loving cities, we were number 8. Number 1 was Lexington, Kentucky, then Green Bay, Wisconsin, Mount Juliet, Tennessee, Spokane, Washington. I grew up not far from there. Falls Church, Virginia, New York, Clarksville, Tennessee. Then there's us, Fort Collins, Colorado. Then Alhambra, California, and Daly City, California. So just know that if you're looking to move here and you like cats, you'll definitely find your people here. Because while it's definitely a beer, bike, dog town, there are so many people that like are, you know, are into other things too, like cats. So if you guys have been around here long enough, you know about Coopersmiths. They have the pub, and then there's also the poolside. And so they are reopening soon. There's not like a date yet, but it's going to be a smaller version of the original poolside space, which was 8,300 square feet. It's going to be 5,000 square feet. The other part of it is being leased by Visit Fort Collins, which if you're looking to visit Fort Collins or move here, definitely check out Visit Fort Collins. They have so many resources. The people in there are super passionate about the area. They'll tell you what's going on, what to do. Now, if you're working with us, we will tell you that too, but it's just another great place to go, especially because it's in the square. It really like gives you the vibe of Old Town. So Coopersmith's Poolside will be reopening. They're going to have 7 pool tables, lounge seating, board and card games. They're going to have mainly serve pizzas, but then also like bar snacks and drinks. The original one closed in 2022. But yeah, so it'll be reopening, which is awesome because there's not a ton of pool places here in Fort Collins. I'm blanking on the one that's on Long Mason, what that one's called. So this one will be nice being right downtown. It'll be great. So a shuttle service is adding daily round trips between Fort Collins and DIA. So Landline is a newer service that comes from up here and goes down to DIA. They are adding 6 new daily trips for a total of 17 trips to the airport every day. They start at 2:20 a.m. and end at 11:40 a.m. This is starting August 1st, so coming up in just a couple weeks. They depart from CSU, Harmony Transfer Center, and Northern Colorado Regional Airport. And so they don't have their partnership with United Airlines anymore. That you may be familiar with them if you use United Airlines. But all trips can now just be directly booked through the Landline's website. So that's a great way to get to the airport. And what I like about that versus another really popular one is it used to be called Green Ride. When I was in college, it was called Green Ride, and it was super cheap and very affordable and great for a cheap or poor college student traveling back to Washington. But they're now called Groom, and they're a little pricier now. But one downside with them, if you don't use the Harmony Transfer Center, is then you're like sitting on the bus and you're like, when am I going to get home? Because you don't know who lives closer than you. So you're like, you know, you get all the way up to Fort Collins and then you're bumping around neighborhoods waiting until you get dropped off. And they'll go all the way up to Cheyenne. So with Landline, it's just like they'll just drop you off at localized areas where you can park your car, which is great. So they are adding 6 new trips starting August 1st. Shops near Fort Collins New King Supers, which if you haven't checked that out, it is so nice. It is definitely a different layout. So when I went in there in a rush, I was like, this is not helpful because I'm trying to get out of here fast. But it's a really nice New King Supers. So the shops around there are getting a facelift. Lord knows they need it. And so there's going to be, so the existing buildings will be remaining, or the existing businesses will be staying. They'll just be getting a facelift, landscaping, sidewalks, patios, new facades. I hope I'm saying that right. Facades, you know, like the exterior of the building, which were built in 1978. So they need a little love. But they right now have wine and liquor specials, an Irish pub that's been around forever, and several small businesses. But once complete, the site will have Firehouse Subs, another unnamed restaurant. So I'm curious what that is, and a reopened wine and liquor specials. And then a spa may also occupy one of the spaces. So that's pretty cool. So that's right behind the new King Supers right now, if you aren't familiar. So that's Midtown. We're talking about the Midtown King Supers. This one made me laugh because I have a funny story about this. Fort Collins Book Ranch officially sold, boarded up, and what we know about what's next. So the Book Ranch, now I'm just going to tell my story first. When I first started going to CSU, my first, you move in, I'm settled with my roommate. We're trying to look over our syllabus. Class hasn't started yet. Or maybe we'd gone to like the first day. And I'm looking at the syllabus and I misunderstood and thought I said that I needed to have a book already read before class started. So I start panicking because I'm like, I did not know that. So I immediately just start typing in bookstores because I was like, I need to go get this book ASAP so I can read it. The first store that comes up is the Book Ranch. So I just call And I remember like, I'm very talkative. So he just says hello. And I just was like, I didn't know I had to get this book done. Blah, blah, blah. Can you help me? This is the book I need. And he just goes, ma'am, this isn't a bookstore. And I was like, what? Okay. So I hung up and I was like, I looked at my roommate and I was like, he said it's not a bookstore. And so then I look online. It's an adult store. That's what it is. So an adult video entertainment store. So that was embarrassing. It was hilarious though. So it's right near CSU. It sold on July 9th for $825,000. It was on the market for 1.5 million. And it was sold to Fort Collins-based 1120 LLC. And so the building's at 730 South College Avenue. It's right by Noodles and Company, Chiba Hut, right by Laurel and College. And its new owner is tied to campus properties for lease. And so we do not know what's coming yet, but we'll see what happens. So it's been around since 1970s, the book ranch, which is crazy. So it's gone now, and we'll see what comes of it. So things to do this week. There's Lakeside Barbecue with a Purpose in Loveland at Boyd Lake. This is July 26th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And this is great if you have, I mean, it's great for anyone, but kids eat for free. So if you have a lot of kids, they'll eat for free. I think under 12. But it's the first ever abilities barbecue that's put on by the Disabled Resources Services. And so it's basically celebrating and supporting people with disabilities. They're going to have barbecue, fun for all ages. And it's going to be at Boyd Lake, which is awesome. So Boyd Lake is just south of US. It's off US 34, just south of I-25. And what's nice is it's the one lake in Loveland now where you can put a boat on it. You can go jet skiing. You can do all the things. You can swim, you can fish, you can camp. They just opened up a bunch of new RV sites. I have some friends who are camping there right now. And ever since Lake Loveland's beach closed after the ballot last year. So Boyd Lake is popping now because it's really the only place you can go swimming in Loveland. And while Loveland has a ton of lakes, a lot of them are private, or like the ones by my house are Long Haggler and Bodecker. Long Haggler is strictly a fishing lake. So you technically can't paddleboard unless you have a fishing license. I've broken that rule many times, but I now go to Bodecker because you can paddleboard there. And so Boyd Lake is really the main place to go right now. So it's popping. So definitely if you haven't gone, check it out. It's usually a $10 entry unless if you have the KCW pass. But this barbecue, it's a $25 ticket and it will cover your entry into the park. So you're going to get food from Delicious Barbecue from Southern Twist Foods, access to Boyd Lake and free parking, inclusive games and activities for all ages, and a chance to make a difference with people with disabilities in Northern Colorado. I think that sounds awesome. Yeah, that's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. So that's called Lakeside Barbecue with a Purpose. And then Kids in the Park is coming up July 25th, so just a few days from now. And it's free. It's from 4 to 7, and the whole point of it is to encourage kids of all ages to get outside and play. So it's a City of Fort Collins annual event, and community members will learn and experience exciting recreation activities, play in the park, dance to music, and enjoy snacks from local food trucks, which is awesome. And also, I'm sure Pat's talked about it, but every Tuesday at City Park is also, I think at 5, starting at 5 p.m. I think at 5, are the food trucks that are at City Park as well. So lots of things to do all summer. This one sounded really interesting. What's coming up here is July 25th to July 27th. It's the Never Summer 100K and 60K. And so these are like 60 and 100K kilometer runs. And so they're going to be happening between the boundaries of State Forest, State Park, and run between Never Summer Mountains on the northern border of Rocky Mountain National Park and the Medicine Bow Mountains to the north of Cameron Pass. And I mean, you're going to be running, I mean, it's at 10 to 12,000 feet. It's a 24-hour race. You're going to be covering a variety of terrain, cross-country, jeep and logging trails, bomber, alpine trail. And it's so funny because they say to expect to see like moose and elk and all the things. And I'm like, or you could also see a bear too, because you're like, you're in the mountains. And so cross meadows, streams, wade through mud, negotiate rocks, a snow field or two. So it sounds, if that's up your alley, if you like to run in extreme, climates, that sounds fun. And so the whole point of this is to offer an ultra distance mountain running experience. As long as you have had adequate training, they think you should be able to complete this run. But it is 10 to 12,000 feet. So just keeping that in mind. So yeah, that sounds, I'm not a runner. I like to lift weights, but I think that would be cool. I think doing that with horses would be fun. So we do have some developments that are under review. I'm sure if you guys have been watching these lives, you know probably more than I do about ADUs, and because Pat talked about that for a very long time, and it took a very long time for it to be passed, but it is passed now, and people are putting in their design requests. And so the first one is at 601 South Whitcomb. They're requesting to convert the existing place of worship into a single unit home or duplex. And so they'll be reviewing that July 24th at 9:15 a.m. And so it will be, the site is located right now in Old Town Medium OTB zone district, where a single unit home would be subject to basic development review. So yeah, so that's cool. An ADU is being requested at 511 West Myrtle. They want to convert, this is the one with the garage, I believe. Yeah, convert their garage into an ADU, which people are doing all the time. Pat had a listing that was on, that was in Old Town that had a 2-car garage detached, and then in the back it had a two-car like oversized detached with a loft, and so that easily could become an ADU, where you have someone who has access from the alley. They rent the home out for you, which before that wasn't allowed to convert into that, and you can tap into the same utilities that your home has, which is awesome. At 442 Riva Ridge Drive, they want to convert a single family home into a daycare, and so the site is located in a low density residential district. So the project is subject to a type 2 major amendment review. So that is all I have. I was thinking I'd be able to be on here for an hour, but I don't think so. So I will stay on here for a little bit longer to see if anyone has any more questions relating to it. And if you have any questions about the council meeting or things happening about the ADUs and LDUs, anything, I'll be on for, I can stick around for just a little bit longer. Yeah, but I appreciate you guys hopping on. I hope Pat's having fun on his vacation, and let me just make sure I answered everything. One thing I do want to say about the Hughes Stadium, the original point of this petition was just to clarify the language that was already done, but they believe that there was some confusion when voters were originally voting in 2021 for what it was going to end up being, where like some voters were like, no, we did want it to be open space. Some wanted it to be natural area, but then some were like, we just didn't want, because there was big talk about it being a place for being residential, but mainly like affordable housing was talked about. I know that. Thank you, Carl. I know that was talked about. So some people were voting for it, and they just didn't want it to be residential or commercial. And I don't blame them, because of, the location of it, that's the last thing you would want. And so this coming in November will be nice, because it'll open up the conversation of like, okay, we're not building homes here, but like, do we want this to be more of a community attraction, or do we want it to be another preserved natural space? So I think just like educating people in the difference of those things, and making it just more clear, I think will be helpful, because there was talk for a while about it being a place for housing, which that area of town already has, is pretty densely populated. There's a lot of multiplexes, fourplexes, triplexes, things like that along Overland Trail between Mulberry and really Drake. So there's already a ton of housing out there. I know Fort Collins does have a housing issue, and so that's where there was the strong debate on between having both the having more housing or keeping it a preserved natural space. And I'm glad the voters did the right thing. And so now it's just like, okay, now where do we go from here? And making sure everyone's on the same page. So it was a pleasure being here. Maybe Pat will let me come on again. I hope you guys have a great week, and comment below if you have any additional questions. I'll make sure to check it out. Thanks so much. Oh, I have 3 computers up right now. I'm trying to end this thing. Okay. Thanks, y'all.